On today's episode, I speak with Neil Donat, who has a stretching technique that he calls Muscle Re-Calibration. This can be used with anybody who has tightness or is having muscular problems. But where he really excels is his work with Parkinson's patients. So I put together a great freebie called the 3 Ways That Muscular Recalibration Can Help Parkinson's Patients. And you can get that by going to rockyourretirement.com/stretch. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode with Neil Donat and his muscular recalibration technique.
Talking with people about how to have a great retirement. This is the Rock Your Retirement Show. We don't talk about money, but we talk about almost everything else you need to rock your retirement. Now, here's your host, Kathy Klein.
Welcome to Rock Your Retirement. This is a show where we talk about what you need to know besides money when you retire or before you retire. And if you're already retired, we can give you some ideas on how to have a better retirement. Remember, there's other things that you need to think about besides money when dealing with retirement. And if you'd like to have a more interactive experience, please join us on our private Facebook group by searching Rock Your Retirement Community on Facebook. Our guest for today is Neil Donat, and Neil helps seniors refresh their bodies with muscle recalibration. It helps them with pain relief and allows them to be more active and to physically flourish during their retirement. Neil, welcome to the show. So tell me, how did you get into this business of helping people recalibrate their muscles? I mean, I don't even know what that means. How does that work?
About 17 years ago, I began helping people with weight loss after I achieved a great weight loss of my own. And I started working with a lot of people who had maybe never exercised before or had mobility issues. One of the first things I found was that being able to do stuff was their bigger obstacle than it was maybe their weight. And so I had taken on the responsibility of making sure that my clients and friends or whoever I worked with was capable of moving in order to complete exercises that would ultimately take them to their goal of weight loss and healthier living.
How much weight loss are we talking about, Neil?
Myself was 62 pounds.
Wow, that's a big drop. Did you work with other people who needed to lose 60, 70, 80, 100? I mean, what was your typical weight loss goal for your clients?
On average, most people are around the 20, 25 pound. However, I've worked with people, quite a few 70 plus to start and continued on, their own after for another. I also have people who have worked with me and on their own journeys have lost well over 100 pounds.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
It was really incredible work, and that's what drove me to the fitness as a career. And then really, as I saw more and more people getting caught up with things that were just distracting them from their everyday life, let alone a weight loss. And as a professional, I knew that a client could gain their weight back. However, if I could get them to play with their kids better or not be in aches and pains after a day of work or a long day of driving, that added up to so much more of an impact in their lives. And that's how we came to where I am today.
So how did you do this? Were you mean to them like they are on the TV show, or did you do other things?
I'm not a big fan of yelling at people. I don't want to be yelled at myself either. At times it can be motivating. At times, maybe somebody has to get behind you like Mickey did with Rocky, but most people who have a goal or have tried, weight loss goal, have tried and tried over and over and have failed, like myself. I know what it feels like to fail at dieting for a long time. And the last thing I need is somebody to make me feel worse. And for me to establish a relationship with somebody who I know is going to be a long term and I'm going to be their coach in the corner, getting to know that person and becoming, on the most part, friends with them, but also keeping the boundary where I say, these are the expectations I have of you, and this is what I need you to do for me. So most people, we got along well. And really everybody's different. Everybody has different reasons, but, the rules to weight loss are basically the same with everybody else, but it's the person that's deciding to take action upon it is really the person you have to navigate around. And that is really where you find most success with coaching in probably any area.
So you had this great success of helping people lose weight. You saw that people had mobility issues. And then is that what led you into working with our seniors?
Absolutely. That's, I started more of a wider array of people, and I started to work with more seniors, but really working with seniors is something close to me personally. My grandfather passed away when I was about 10 years old. And my grandmother, she wasn't very unhealthy. She was afraid of falling. She's about 70 years old. This is, back in the early 90s. And, she was cautious. And so as the oldest grandson, and, I would help her walk, she would ask me to help there. And she was also very close to me. So I spent the next probably 17 years assisting her, along with other family members. And I even had trained her while she was in a wheelchair. The wheelchair was really just because of her lack of mobility. But I grew an affinity for people in that situation, because not only is there the companionship, there's the loss of, you're taking things out of people's lives that make them feel less important or more of a burden. And when I started working more with seniors, I felt really drawn to them. Because of my experience as a child, and as well as how much I could help them and see the results, and for them to say, hey, I got to do this, and I know how important that is to them. So it really fulfills me on a different level.
That's good. So tell me what muscle recalibration is. I mean, I don't really get that. So explain. I mean, I get weight loss, I get training, I don't get muscle recalibration. Although the reason why I invited you on the show is because you are able to help people with Parkinson's disease, and I wanted to find out about that.
Okay, so with muscle recalibration, what our bodies are designed to leverage itself and stay in balance. So when we do something a lot of the time, like maybe sit a lot or lean a lot or whatever, our body shifts and everything does what it has to do to keep us in this plane of straight, or whatever it appears to be straight, right? And those muscles, they shift their attention, so they leverage each other at a different ratio rather than 50-50. What I do is when you contract a muscle, it can be stretched significantly, meaning that pulled apart and lengthened. And as it's done, it allows us to work on its balancing pair. So let's say front to back, just for very simple terms. So the front muscle is really tight, the back muscle is not. So we make the front muscle longer, then it automatically allows the back muscle to become stronger, because when one muscle takes over for another, the other one becomes weaker. And that's how we have issues with mobility show up, because muscles start shutting down. And as we age, things slow down, and your mobility issue isn't necessarily that you're weaker because you're older, but your body's getting more used to the way that it's calibrated. And so I recalibrate the muscles so they work the right way, so they're even rather than 70-25 or whatever percent they're at now.
Is that similar to what a chiropractor does?
The chiropractor works more on the neurological level, where they work on the nerves and how they stem from the spine, so how those things go. What I do is it's actually a complement to what they do, because once I change the musculature, so change the muscle groups, now it opens up the pathways of the nerves to the spine, so they start to communicate better. And so now if a chiropractor is working, he can handle whatever vertebra are affecting nerve issues, and that can also enhance what he does, as well as, again, reunite both of them.
Okay, so let me get this straight. What you do is you work on the muscles, and what a chiropractor does is works on the spine. So it doesn't conflict, and in fact, it enhances what the chiropractor does.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I know that my dad's muscles are starting to get really tight, and so that's probably what you work on, is getting those so that he's not so, I don't know what the word is. People who know someone with Parkinson's probably understand this, but things start to tighten up.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what it is. You're basically, your body, your muscles are at their wit's end. They can no longer be leveraged anymore. So for instance, most people have lower back issues, right? Or mid back. And what happens is that when the hips get tight forward and the lower back gets tight at that end, it stretches the back musculature. And so the hips, as they go forward, force the upper body forward and to elevate. So it gets tight at the top. So the more you get wound in there and the tighter you get and the tighter you get, the less you can leverage yourself in different directions. And our bodies are dynamic, which means that we can go through multiple degrees of movement, rotation, different planes of movement. And once we lose that, we get in this very stuck position. So yeah, it makes lots of sense what you're saying with your father. And just freeing those muscles up will, again, allow for the body to move the way it's supposed to, because your muscles are designed to move your body, also to provide structural integrity, but to move your body. And when they don't work right, you can't move.
So how exactly do your stretching exercises work? Is this something that requires another person to do, or is it something that somebody can be taught to do on their own?
You can teach people to do this on their own. However, there are only certain positions that you can leverage your motion. So, for instance, if you really want to get a long stretch over your shoulders and get your trapezius muscles, and it's a big reach to grab your arm, because what you would use is your straight arm with resistance. So maybe raising your arm over your head and grabbing it, and then pulling it forward while you contract. The other thing with that is the difficulty is that it's hard for the novice to know to push and pull with their own brain. You're saying push at one end and pull on the other. You really can't feel the tension the way somebody else could. However, if you follow a nice, simple protocol, it'll help. Also, with somebody else doing it, your body will tell them what's happening, and they can decipher more of what's keeping what. And it's just it's like being your own attorney. It's better to have an outside perspective. And they also, too, can position your body in ways that you probably can't and stretch muscles that way, which would allow them to progress further to get greater results.
Okay. And there's a name for the type of stretching you do, right?
Yes. Ki-Hara Resistance Stretching. Ki-Hara is the school that I work with, I guess if you want to call it school, or the modality. It comes from resistance stretching that was first conceptualized by a gentleman by the name of Bob Cooley. Quick story, he got hit by a car while walking, and he was pretty messed up, and started examining every modality from Qigong to, Pilates to help nurse his body back together. What he found, the most important principle is that our body stretches after it contracts. And he used it in such to heal himself, and then put it into an approach. And then from that, it's expanded. And so muscle recalibration comes into where I use the technique, because it's based off of my years as a mobility expert through exercise, because I incorporated a different way, whereas a massage therapist or physical therapist or even a chiropractor who are learning this technique, they treat a patient a certain way, and that's how they use it. And when I see people, my number one goal is to get them as more active as possible, because that has always what I've been done, if that makes sense.
Okay. So how many sessions with you does it usually take to be able to notice a difference?
Well, you'll notice a difference even after one session. It can be very dramatic. So it also depends on who I'm working with. So let's say if it's a senior, because we're doing muscle work, it's like you can get sore like you did from a workout. So it can be very intense. So I wouldn't want to make somebody who, say, Parkinson's or has a very decreased mobility less mobile because they're sore. However, if after the first 2 or 3 and they're able and they're stronger, they won't be as sore. We could go for those an hour, and depending on what they have going on, that would dictate how long I see them. So I have some Parkinson's patients that I've seen 3 or 4 times, and they feel much better, and they do regular PT, and they're great. And I have a couple that I see weekly, twice a week, that were just really, really taken back and have since moved forward and made great progress. So where the need fits.
Okay. So your clientele, some of them are also going through physical therapy?
Yes. Some do physical therapy. And again, that complements physical therapy, because when the muscles are recalibrated, the brain and the muscle are ready to soak up the information. So they do more strengthening exercise, and that helps them to actually progress even faster. Your body will naturally progress faster even without exercise, because once the muscle turns back on, you'll build natural leg strength or back strength or whatever you're doing. Your natural mobility will start to return on its own.
Wow, that's really interesting. You have been doing this for how long?
I've been using this technique for 6 years and working in fitness and all this stuff for about 17 years total.
So you must have been right out of high school when you started.
I was in college and I was 19. People just came to me and said, how'd you do it? And I started writing programs for people and working with people in college. And that's how it happened.
You're not really doing personal training anymore. You're pretty much doing this recalibration stretching technique. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is this something that insurance covers, or is this like personal training where you pay for it on your own?
It's typically paid out of pocket. If you have supplemental insurance, they'll usually cover that. Also, if you're retired, so you probably don't have a flex spending account. Usually that's people who are employed. Flex spending covers, they allow you to spend that money too. But yes, it does come out of pocket mostly.
Okay. So let's say I have a client, my dad lives in Florida now, so he's obviously not going to come to San Diego to get stretching exercises. How does somebody find someone like you if they don't live in San Diego?
Depending where he is in Florida, actually Ki-Hara headquarters is in Miami. I don't know if that's close.
Florida's
but there's
state, like California.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I know. Yeah. So if you were to go to ki-hara.com, they have a directory of some of the practitioners that are around the country. I know there's a whole bunch in the East Coast, and there's some in Texas. One of my mentors, she's in Texas, and some in the Bay Area, as well as Oregon. And if they're not on the site, you could always email them or myself, and we can, there might be somebody who's not just listed in the directory, and we can find somebody. As far as I know, I've met 50 to 60 practitioners of this. Well, with there being 50 states, it's a little on the slim side, but there's usually hope to find somebody close by.
Okay. So, I'm still trying to get a feel for why this works. It's because there's push and pull on different muscles. So there's one muscle that's contract. So if I make a muscle with my arm, like I'm a bodybuilder. So what you're saying is when I make a muscle, one muscle's contracting while the other is being stretched. Is that correct in my understanding?
Yes, exactly. So your triceps, the back of the biceps are relaxed. However, the bicep also stretches. So as the tricep contracts. So just as you stretch the tricep by activating the bicep, the tricep was active at one point. So it's either active or inactive. So they stretch when they relax. But most people are so used to looking at them as relax. And they are relaxing. We're not telling them to do work. They're relaxing, but they're still stretching as they relax. And they can only stretch as much as the other muscle that's making them relax can contract. Does that make sense?
So you're helping are you lengthening the muscles? Is that
Yes,
what you're doing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And because it's done while the muscle's on, it's called the Golgi tendon organ. It's in the muscle that calibrates the tension on the muscle. And once you do that, that organ on the cellular level, it recognizes what's happening. And so it's getting length. So it recognizes that, and it changes other things in the body, just as it changed other muscles when it got tighter. So maybe this makes sense. When you stand on one foot, there's maybe thousands of things that are firing back and forth to keep you in balance so you don't fall over, right? So they're slightly adjusting tension here, slightly adjusting tension there, keeping you up straight so you don't fall over.
I'm standing on one foot right now.
Right. Okay.
So I've got feet on the floor.
Okay, so it does that.
Right,
and
my
it adjusts.
foot's moving around, my knee's moving. I'm trying not to lock my knee. Okay. I understand.
So everything you do, it makes adjustments to leverage the movement. When one thing is continuously done, the other part just stops doing its job because the other part's taken over.
Is that kind of like muscle-bound people that work out a lot? They can't lift their arms over their head, or?
It's partly that they're super tight and they can't open up. But yeah, there's a range of motion loss as well. It can happen from using a mouse all day long. When you have a bent arm on a desk using a mouse, you're constantly inwardly rotated on your arm and you're bent at your bicep. So your bicep, even though you're not carrying a bunch of weight, it's activated. So it's overactive. And that's also another word for tight. What it does is it weakens the tricep. So a lot of women I've worked with are like, I'm flabby in the back of my arm. And I said, you're not flabby in the back of your arm. Your tricep's not active. The tissue is not active and strong and toned and firm. Right, you're losing the lower part of the shoulders because you're elevated more. It should be down in the center and relaxed, not held over your head like you got your shirt stuck halfway over your body. And so once that happens, the top muscles, the trapezius muscles that connect to the neck that also lead to neck pain, those muscles are working so much that the ones that keep you down and secure, they're shut down. And so as that stays that way, that becomes your new normal. Everything you do it continues to get worse and worse over time. We have to tell those guys, stop doing all this work. Let the other guys have some fun too, basically. And so when we stretch out the combination of muscles, bicep, shoulder, and chest muscles, and then we release these trapezius muscles on top, they open up. And once they straighten, once they get longer, the other muscles they shut off turn back on immediately. And they adjust just the way that they adjusted the first time, except they just never forgot to let the responsibility go. And that's what happens.
So that's why you're able to get relief in 1, 2, 3, 4 sessions.
Yes, absolutely.
Is because you're helping do this release of the lengthening of the short muscle that shouldn't be short in the first place.
Absolutely. Traditionally, which is not wrong, it's very logical and extremely intelligent to do, and works just as well in some instances. We go after the muscle that's weak and we say, work, 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 work. But there's so much more force and things keeping that muscle shut down on the other side that we're going after a symptom and not the problem. The problem is that muscle.
You're yelling at the muscle and you don't like to yell.
Yeah, that's it. You are.
Saying work, 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 work. They're actually yelling at the muscle and the muscle doesn't like to be yelled at.
Yes. That's nice.
Okay.
It's really what's making that muscle not work. Just so I stop it where it started from rather than the symptom of the problem.
Okay. So it's not that the muscle's lazy. The muscle needs a little coaxing, and that's what you do.
Yes.
Try to get this in words that I understand. Sorry about
Absolutely.
that. So before the interview, you and I were talking about Dan. So tell me a little bit about Dan and how you were able to help him.
Dan the man. Dan's awesome. Dan was the first person with Parkinson's that I worked with in San Diego. I had worked with a friend's father just a little bit as a favor in New York before I moved here. And so I knew I could help Dan. Dan had a very aggressive Parkinson's. He had it for 2 years before he passed away. About 6 months before he did, when I met him. From the beginning, when I started working with Dan, his wife wanted me to anything to help. And so I said, yeah, I know I can do something. We worked twice a week until basically he passed. Dan's body always responded. And that was really profound to me. He was in pain from sitting a lot. His voice started to deepen within the first session or two because that...
Really? That's awesome because my father, you can barely hear him. He whispers.
The internals aren't moving the right way. Your pelvic floor muscles aren't working right. You're not opening the diaphragm well enough. You're constricting airflow and the abilities for things to work. And I had no idea that would happen. I just knew I could help him feel better and move better. He had some complications because the disease progressed very fast. However, we made it even a full workout because he was a gym guy. He kept saying, when I get back to these weights, and he was telling me, I worked out with the guys that started this at Muscle Beach, and he was always had the attitude of when I get back, it happened so fast that as things began to fail, they began to fail. However, I stretched him in his bed in home hospice and it still helped and he wasn't in pain. And once I realized that even though something's failing in the body, that our body still will listen, that was just so profound to me and why I reached out to more Parkinson's patients.
Wow. So it's not a cure for Parkinson's, but it can help with the imbalance, just the falling, the weak voice, the symptoms.
Yes. I've had some clients with tremors that relaxed because of that as well. Basically, you have the before, the during, and after, I like to say. How was the body worn in before the onset of the symptoms? And then what happened afterwards where you decided, hey, let's be more cautious, or you didn't have somebody to help move you around, you were living alone and you did less. And so your body just naturally started to decline and get maybe tighter and stuff. And then what did you do from that point forward after the treatments? So there's a lot of things that change. We can get the body to turn back on as much as possible, even though it doesn't stop the degeneration that's going on of the brain. We can just turn on more lights, so to speak. It can make the body stronger and help them navigate through life better.
That's just amazing. I really am so glad that you came on the show to talk about this. Just makes me think about my dad. So sorry if I sound like I'm getting emotional. Do you strictly work with Parkinson's patients, or do you have other people that you work with as well?
I like working with seniors who are finding balance issues. I actually just worked with someone having balance issues. I do a lot of work with women in their 50s to 60s looking to, they're done raising the kids and they're starting to see the change of life. They're concerned more about taking care of themselves now and have the time to do that. So I do work with them a lot. It helps them to get back into exercise rather than just go blindly into it and possibly hurt themselves. Or they might have had something stemming, even some women go 15 years, in my experience, in pain and don't do anything about it because they're more devoted to the family and they put themselves last. I help them put themselves first.
That's really great. Thank you so much for that. I know a lot of women that are probably in that position, myself included, although I never had a family. I put things off because I'm working. Like, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you a quick story. I had a lump underneath my arm, in my armpit. And when I first went to the doctor about it, he said, well, I can remove this for you right now if you'd like. And I said, no, because I was thinking about the recovery period was going to be a couple of weeks. I couldn't go back, I wouldn't be able to work. And so I thought, no, I'll just wait. So years and years went on. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't put my arm down because I had this lump the size of an egg in my armpit. I called my doctor and said, can you refer me to a surgeon? And they said, why? And I said, well, I have this lump underneath my armpit. Well, of course, they freaked out and they told me to come in right away. And then I started freaking out because it usually took 6 to 8 weeks to see my doctor. And it turns out it was nothing, but I can completely understand putting off your health until it's critical. And I wound up needing surgery because I didn't take care of it when I was at the doctor's office so long ago. So I completely understand. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to talk to you about a couple of things because you see a lot of people that are retiring or who are already retired. Tell me what you think people should know before they retire.
There are plenty of solutions out there that could help you to become more active, that you don't have to decline in your activity just because you're getting older. I like people to know that we can be as strong and healthy as we want to be. And that's what I help people see and help them do.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. We really appreciate it. The last question is, what if someone is already retired? They've been retired for a while. Maybe they're older. Maybe they're stuck. Things are not going the way that they feel that they should go. Do you have any advice for that person?
Definitely. Well, I'd like to see them because I know I can help them. If they're in the area, San Diego area, I can definitely help them just really turn back the clock, so to speak, on their bodies. So it's only going to continue on the direction that it's going unless you do something about it. So just like you said about your story, something will come out of it. It may not be the most tragic thing, but it's not going to help you to live a more fruitful life. And even if it's not me, go see a fitness professional that has experience with seniors or any type of health professional that does something with movement that'll just help be the catalyst that you're looking for, because it's not as dramatic as you may think it is. It's just a system that you have to start following, and it doesn't matter how old you are.
Thank you so much. Neil, it has certainly been a pleasure having you come on the show and talk to people about what you do with muscle recalibration, how it helps Parkinson's patients and just seniors in general. Really appreciate it. Neil, how can my guests contact you for more information?
You can contact me by either going to my website at www.muscletherapysandiego.com. Email me at muscletherapysd@gmail.com, or you can call me 619-736-8995. And if you use the word rock as your reference to your contact, you'll receive 20% off the first package that you sign up with me.
Neil, thank you so much. I know that my listeners are going to be very excited about that offer. Thanks again for coming on the show.
It's always a pleasure, Kathy. Thank you so much for what you do, and look forward to helping everybody. Thank you.
And for my listeners, don't forget, we'll see you next week on Rock Your Retirement. Who knew that a stretching technique could help reverse Parkinson's issues? So I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you'd like to get the freebie, the 3 ways that muscular recalibration can help Parkinson's patients, just go to rockyourretirement.com/stretch.
Thanks for listening to the Rock Your Retirement Show. If you are rocking your retirement or know someone who would make a great guest on our show, please send us an email at podcast@rockyourretirement.com.
Hi, this is Kathy. When I'm not hosting Rock Your Retirement, I'm helping people with their Medicare insurance. One of the times you need to check your Medicare insurance is when you've moved. To get my free guide, 5 things you need to know about Medicare when you are moving, just go to medicarequick.com/move. And in the meantime, listen to these cool disclosures. Neither Medicare Quick nor its agents is connected with the federal Medicare program. Medical insurance licensed in the states of California, Florida, Nevada, and Texas, and Medicare Advantage and prescription drug plan service areas vary. California Insurance License 0797566.